Hi, I'm Mark, and welcome to Little Known Stocks, the show where I try to prove that being boring and doing your research will make you money. So, today we're talking about Evofem Biosciences, but who are they, and should you invest? Let's take a look. So, who are Evofem? Well, they're the creators of a completely new form of birth control, and that's quite exciting. Nothing has happened really in the birth control space for many, many years, and everything on the market is either barrier or hormonal. So to introduce a new type of contraceptive is potentially really exciting. The contraceptive works, it's a spermicide type product, so the woman uses it before sex, up to an hour before sex, and it changes the pH balance of the vagina to 3, which is very acidic, and that prevents sperm from mobilizing essentially and prevents pregnancy. So quite innovative and very useful. Now they have two products. The first one is the contraceptive that I've just mentioned, Phexxi it's called. It's made of lactic acid, citric acid, potassium bitrate. So that's already on the market and available. It launched in September 2020, so it's very, very new, and that's one of the things that puts risk into this company. But it's FDA approved, it's been selling, it's been growing at a good rate, which is good. The second one, in my opinion, the more exciting option is this Evo 100, which aims to prevent chlamydia and gonorrhea. Now that would create a new market entirely, which is a game changer. This product is good. This is a game changer. If you can prevent chlamydia or gonorrhea without a barrier method, that's huge. So that's what I'm really excited about in this company. Now they are targeting people who have issues with hormonal treatments particularly, and I will talk about that in more detail in a short while. They're also targeting people who don't use contraceptives and replacing people that are using contraceptives, but less on that. So there's a big potential market. They're looking at all in all about 1 million users target, which is significant and a significant portion of the market. Now, in terms of awareness, you can see, as I said, it's a very new brand, but awareness has really spiked very, very quickly over the past few months. It was trickling along, but in Q1 really, we've seen this massive ramp up. And in terms of the retail demand, that's also increased dramatically, particularly in March. You can see a big step up. They're talking about 852 sales units here, wholesale to pharmacy. So if I look at what that means, this is Medicaid, the database. They sell 2 versions of the wholesale product, one with 5,000 units and one with 600,000 units. So I'm guessing these are all 5,000 units sales, but 834 unit sales is still significant if there's 5,000 a time. So that's really impressive so far, and you can see their prescription growth. So really the sale through has grown 37% month over month. So that's big. It's largely probably driven by this direct-to-consumer campaign that they've launched through their website. They've got a lot of media presence and a lot of, they're really pushing that. So 37% growth is good, but they've put a lot of investment in to get that. So really we need to see that continue over the next few months. And another thing to mention is the level of refills. So initial prescriptions is definitely rising. Refills is slow, growing but slow. So are people trying the product, they're not really liking it? Are people using it very infrequently, and so we'll see that come through maybe in 6 months, a year's time? We don't really know at this point, which is why it's such a risky proposition. We really need to see the next earnings report. We need to see this number explode, and you can see they haven't reported March or April figures yet. We want to see continued growth, and we want to see these refills starting to come in. One thing that is promising from a refills perspective is that healthcare professionals are prescribing and re-prescribing. So we're seeing the number who are prescribing for the first time grow, which is good, but we're also seeing the number that are prescribing grow as well, which is really promising. So healthcare professionals are definitely pushing it, and that's continuing to grow as well. In terms of other data, they are surveying women who have used Phexxi, and 89% say that they will refill their prescription. So that's positive, although people who are filling out a survey after use, you can't necessarily trust that data, and that we will see that repeat prescription. One of the downsides is that they are selling this through a lot of individual sales reps. Now, they are using telesales, they're using people on foot, as far as I understand. They're teaming up with sales reps who are going in to talk to people for other reasons. So that's maybe reducing their cost. But one of the things that we'll come on to in a minute is that they are spending massive amounts of money to distribute this product, and that's a real concern. There is a concern that the cost of sales is far too much, and they really need to bring that down. Now, they do mention that they want to implement a strategy to improve this. So this is starting in April, and hopefully we'll see returns on this soon. But this gross to net basically means they want to reduce their cost to improve their profitability. So that's a major focus, and we'll see that hopefully in the, not this coming quarter results, but the quarter results after. Finally, while Phexxi is out there and launching, Evo 100, the chlamydia and gonorrhea prevention product, won't be released until at least Q2 2023. So there's major risk, first from the fact that the phase 3 trials might be unsuccessful. They need to be approved first. And secondly, that it could be delayed and that we see a pushback. But certainly there's a lot that could happen between now and then to prevent that launching. And that's the really big concern. Now, if we look at the summary, we can see that we've got a market cap of $146 million, so very small company. We are at 146, and our earnings per share trading 12 months is $2, well, minus $2.11. So really we are hemorrhaging money trading 12 months, and that's one of the reasons why the stock's so low. If we look at the full charts over the 5-year period, you can see massive drop in share price, down to 146 from highs of nearly $15. So very, very significant. In fact, it was $15 the high. So if you bought in here, you've really experienced a lot of pain. There has been a lot of share dilution over the years as they've raised capital several times, so that may account for some of it. But if people have been in this stock long term, they'll have really experienced pain. But there is a very significant upside here. And if we think about this stock, there's been a long time of research, FDA approvals, etc. And really, last quarter was the first quarter with revenue. And so really, it's a story now of, can they turn it around? Can the revenue grow fast enough that the cost of revenue and the operating expenses don't overcome and swallow up this company? There is a massive upside versus this 146 price at the moment. I personally bought in at 184, and I'm feeling comfortable at that level. But there is also a risk that this stock goes to zero if they don't get a control of their finances very, very quickly. So the earnings report next week is going to be really, really key, and that could turn around this stock, or it could sink this stock. It's worth looking at what the analysts think on this stock. So the analyst estimate is between a loss of 52 cents and 43 cents per share, so very, very significant still. You can see earnings history, there's been negative surprises throughout the history, one small upside, but really very negative, so not good there. But the recommendation is still a buy. People are fairly bullish on this stock from an analyst perspective, with price targets averaging $7.40. So, there's really is potential upside here, and the analysts are seeing that. Now, in order to understand what the potential of Phexxi is, we need to first understand what the competitor base is like, what the advantages and disadvantages are versus competitor products. So there's a huge amount of data and research out there about all the contraceptive methods and which ones are better across various different criteria. And having the amazing social life that I do, I thought I'd spend my evening putting together a summary and really condensing all that research into an Excel sheet. So, starting with efficacy, surprising actually, I really learned a lot doing this research, but efficacy for the longer term products, so the implants, the IUDs, is 99%, and very, very effective. For the medium term, you have this perfect use and normal use statistic. Now, perfect use is lab conditions, everyone knows exactly how to use it, no rushing in the moment type stuff, and with that, the medium term get 99% efficacy. But you can see there's quite a substantial drop, particularly with the patch, when they're talking about real world research and real world conditions. So the patch drops to 91%, which is really surprising. Now, it's worth saying that this is an annual percentage, so this isn't every time you have sex you're going to have a 9% chance of getting pregnant if you're using the patch. This is over a period of a year, and these are people that are having sex at least twice a month that are being considered for these percentages. So that's quite a different story, but still 91% I would think is quite low for a hormonal contraceptive. Now, when we get to the single use, it's another story entirely, and you can see that the numbers really start to degrade. Particularly, even with perfect use, you've got hormonal spermicide down at 82% efficacy over a year. You've got condoms at 97%, so not the perfect contraceptive that we all think they are. And then actually, when you get to normal use rather than perfect use, they're down to 85%. So Phexxi, with its 93 and 86%, although it's nothing in comparison to the long-term implant type contraceptives, it holds its own against condoms in normal world results. So that's really interesting, and it's certainly better than withdrawal, but way better than its competitor hormonal spermicide. So that's a loss, I think, for Phexxi when you're comparing to the long term, but actually single use, it's not too bad. So maybe I've been a little bit harsh there. Now, price, this really is a loss. This really is a bad one. Phexxi is competing against a number of contraceptives that are covered by insurance or Medicaid, in most cases both. So where we talk about cost per annum, some of these longer term contraceptives, they cost $1,800 to actually have the procedure, but that's spread over 5 years, that they work for 5 years. So there may be a higher upfront cost that needs to be considered, and that may deter some people, but it works out very cheap over the long run, and they are all covered by insurance and Medicaid, so likely most people are getting that for free or very, very cheap. Medium term, actually these are the most expensive class. If you're looking for the injection or a patch, the patch is the most expensive. It's really substantially expensive, but again, they're both covered by insurance or Medicaid and widely accepted. Now, where we talk about single use, withdrawal obviously doesn't cost anything, but if you're talking about condoms or hormonal spermicide, where you may be starting to compete with Phexxi, you're 1/10 of the cost if you're paying for it. So that's really substantial as well. But if you're thinking about single use and you're not paying for it and your insurance does cover it, you're saving $100, which for some people may be substantial. But if you are paying for it, you're paying $1,000 a year, and I'm assuming here 50 uses in a year. So could be more expensive or less expensive just depending on uses, but substantially more than the other single use. Not only that, but it's only partially covered on insurance. So some insurance policies are starting to accept it, but it's not widely accepted yet. And it is covered on Medicaid partially. So I'll just show you what I mean by that. In terms of Medicaid, they are registered with the Medicaid rebate plan. And that means they can offer a first fill free, so a lot of the cost up front is paid for, which is great. You get a lot of people trying it. We've seen from Phexxi's past results that a lot of people are getting it for free their first time. So, it's not counted towards the bottom line, which is hopefully critical in the next earnings where we see people coming back and actually paying. But then future prescriptions you could get for as little as $30. So then it starts to look more competitive. You're getting $30 for 12 tries, so you're starting to become in line with condoms or hormonal spermicides. So, potentially this is an area where they could go from a loss to a win, but really we need to see a lot of movement. We need to see a lot of insurance policies covering it, and we need to see the Medicaid really come through. So that's price. At the moment a loss, but could be a win in the future. Now in terms of convenience, again, not good for Phexxi. It's not post-coitally effective. It's not protecting against STDs, although we'll come on to EvoGuard later on. And you do require a prescription. So when you're comparing it with condoms or your other single-use contraceptives, that's not good. But this is really the one where Phexxi wants to compete. Hormonal. So Phexxi is not hormonal at all, as we know. And the idea is that this will reduce the number of side effects. If you look at some of these long-term, medium-term side effects, God, women go through a lot. And, I learned a lot doing this research, as I said before. But you've got, for the patch, I think the patch seems to be the worst one from what I've seen. Cramping, bleeding, sickness, weight change, nausea, headaches, sore breasts, depression. And I have seen various different reports of all of these products having some degree of all of those symptoms. So if you're a person who has those symptoms, then you'll want to be looking for an alternative. Now, it is worth saying that the copper IUD is not hormonal either, and that's really a potential competitor to Phexxi. It seems very convenient in comparison, but there are still reports of cramping, bleeding, sickness and allergies. So that's worth considering, but it's non-hormonal, so a lot of people will try that. But I'm about to show you a clip from Phexxi's own advertising, which is pretty damning. And essentially with Phexxi you get side effects of burning, itching, infections, UTIs, lots of side effects potentially. So let's go and watch the clip now of Phexxi's advert.
Don't use Phexxi if you have problems with your urinary tract or a history of repeated UTIs. Common side effects are vaginal burning, itching, infection, discharge, UTIs, genital area discomfort, bacterial vaginosis, or pain while urinating. Phexxi doesn't protect against STIs. Get past your compromises and get Phexxi.
So, wow. So you can see for an advert that has "don't compromise" as its tagline, that sounds like a lot of compromises to me. There's a lot of potential side effects, and if that's the advert that you're going to be getting out there, wow, I don't know how effective that's going to be, but it doesn't look good. And I just wanted to say, actually, the adverts are not the target audience, obviously, but they are terrible.
Vroom, vroom. Put them in my box. My inbox, that is.
Lastly, other benefits. Now, the long-term use have continued efficacy, so you just need to use it once. That's very clear. The copper IUD, as we've said, has no hormones. The injection and patch are infrequent use, so very convenient. The single-use ones, I've seen this come up in a few topics of conversation, that actually the benefit of single use is that you can immediately get pregnant if you want to start trying. So whereas some of these other ones, I think for the injection and the implants, it could be years before you're able to get pregnant again. These single use allow you to do so very quickly if that's part of your plans. And the last one is lubrication. So if you're looking for a lubricant and a contraceptive, that's a win there. So there's potential markets. Certainly the hormones Potentially the ethics is a very small one, and then if you're wanting to use lubricants as well, that's there as well. But overall, I really think the price and being available on Medicaid needs to open up and available on insurance to ensure Phexxi's long-term success. Now, one area that Evofem are really trying to exploit with Phexxi is the oncology community, and this is really important. It's a niche, but it's a big niche, and it could be a real successful avenue for them, particularly if they can prove that it's worthwhile, and then maybe you start to see more prescriptive issues of Phexxi. So people who are undergoing cancer treatments, particularly breast cancer treatment, are required to use birth control, but they can't use hormonal birth control. So that leaves very few options available to them currently. You've got the copper IUD, and you've got condoms or withdrawal method or whatever more traditional use. So it can be dangerous, and it can stimulate tumours if you're using hormonal birth control. So really, Evofem are partnering with the oncology community, and they're going to speak at many seminars, etc., about the benefits of this, and if you can get doctors prescribing their cancer patients, that will really be a significant avenue. But as Evofem mentioned in their own investor reports, getting doctors to proactively do this and to talk about sex with their cancer patients is a difficult thing to do, and likely a barrier to this rolling out. But it is an area that they're trying to improve in. It's also worth saying that this is how the company really came about. So the CEO, Sandra Pelletier, is a survivor of cancer, and this was one of the things that she understood when she was going through treatment, that she had issues with hormonal therapies. She didn't have alternatives, and really that's one of the reasons why Phexxi exists today. So let's talk about the CEO, Sandra Pelletier, a bit more. I just wanted to show you this. This is the Yahoo Finance comments section on Evofem. So you can see, as long as she feels this is a cash cow, stockholders are doomed. The problem with owning this stock is that you can't trust the CEO. There's one obvious solution. If the current CEO is removed, everyone will start buying a lot for sure. So you can see the trust in the CEO, which is a major component of any stock, is not there. And the reason being is that in August, Sandra sold 122,500 shares at a price of $3.26 a share. Now that's around that was around a quarter of her shares, so she owned 360,000 following that. So still a significant amount, but that's really not a good sign if your CEO is selling. $3.26 a share. She got a good price for it based on where we are now, in the 140s, 150s. But what you can see and what hasn't been reported is that she's started to buy back. So on the 9th of March, she bought 45,000 more shares at $2.28. And you can see here, look, she's got 900,000 shares after that, and that's to do with new shares being issued and such. It's worth noting that she is a very, very small shareholder in the company, so holds 0.6 of total shares. You can see actually individuals and insiders own 1.6% in total, so very, very small. You've got the rest being owned by the public, 50%, which is pretty high for a stock like this, and private institutions another 50%. So she's not making huge amounts of money, and that's one of the things to consider. You have a massive CEO that's a billionaire selling shares, you should be a bit worried. If you've got a private individual, someone who's maybe not the wealthiest person in the world selling shares, it's less concerning that. But if you're the CEO of a company, you should probably be considering whether you want to do that or not and drive down the share price. And shortly after the sale by Sandra, more news came out. Evofem then offered more shares, raising $30 million in capital at $1.75 a share. Now, at the time, that was a significant low versus the previous share price. It had been hovering around $2.30, $2.50 consistently, and that made it tumble. And we're now in the $1.40s. So the price has absolutely been hammered, and understandably investors are angry, particularly with that sale just before by Sandra, which really is a little bit conspicuous in my opinion. So that's all I've got time for today. I just wanted to point out that we're very close to the next financial earnings of Evofem on May the 6th. So if I get enough interest in this video, I will do a summary of that. It is a key turning point for this company, and really where we get to see whether the revenue is truly going to grow for this product. With that said, I'd love it if you gave a like and subscribe to the video. Thank you very much for your time, and have a good day.